Hey, it's Big Game. James McCarty, the sports director at Flag Family Mirror, here with Jace Denman, and then, of course, head coach Steve Laqua of Dragon Football. And, Coach, the 2023 campaign just wrapped up. You guys went 7-4, and there's a lot, I think, to reflect on from this season that is positive. As a head coach, what would you just say initially were your thoughts of how this 2023 season went?
Well, I think it went really well compared to where we were a year ago. I think the things we asked our guys to do, they did, and we really harped on controlling the things you could control, playing with great effort, and I think they did that week in and week out, playing with enthusiasm and really a genuine joy for each other, making plays, celebrating together as a team, not getting caught up in what other teams were doing or what the scoreboard was, but just being in the moment, playing for each other, and I think that came through. You could see it on the field. I think you could hear it when they talked to each other about it, if they gave interviews. Their love for each other and playing for each other shone the brightest. And there was a lot of things that shone brightly on the field, but I think that's the one that shined the brightest, and I think we're excited about it.
In total, you had 6 young men that were all-conference honorees, 3 on the first team, 3 on the second, and for the first time since 2007, you guys had the NSIC's Offensive Player of the Year with Jack. Those 6 young men and kind of what they mean to the program, a couple graduating, 4 of them coming back. I mean, just real quick, what have they kind of meant to the program, and how are they going to be a building block for this team moving forward?
Well, definitely those guys, they got recognized for the work that they did on the field. I think the part that maybe doesn't get seen is the work that they do off the field, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's in the locker room, whether it's on the practice field, teaching other guys, pouring into guys, building into their success, and not just individually, but how good can they make the people around them. And so I think they got recognized for the field, but we're going to miss the things that they do that nobody sees on game day, and that's helped our team get better. It's built and strengthened our culture. It's been something that's been important to us. We're all in this together. We've all got to help each other play at a higher level. And so the guys that are coming back, we hope that they're going to continue to do that, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so when your best players are your hardest workers and your guys that are most invested into the success of the people around them, you got a chance to be a good football team.
Coach, when you look at this season and how well this season went overall, like James said, 7-4, you were undefeated at home. 3 of those 4 road losses were one-possession games. And the stats a guy like Jack Strand puts up, and kind of the spotlight that puts on MSUM's offensive side of the ball, does a season like this and do statistics like that, does that aid in recruiting kind of some of those next wave of players coming in?
Well, I think everybody in recruiting is trying to get a bead or a feel for what's a program like, and the first thing they probably look at is, hey, wins and losses. Okay, what are you doing stat-wise? And so those are, I think, superficial things that people look at that maybe start with the process. And so I do think that it's something that can help us. I think if you're a skill player on offense and you look at those things and you go, wow, I'm going to have a lot of opportunity to make plays with the ball in my hand in space and make people miss. And so hopefully that opens the door for more people in recruiting. But ultimately, as you dig deeper in, it's finding the things of value that are going to matter, that are going to last. And those are the things that are important to us. Those are the things we talk about in recruiting. And so you got to understand that this program is more than just throwing the ball around a lot of times and getting yards. It's about being there for your buddy, being a great teammate. It's about having a no excuse, find a way type attitude. It's about understanding that you got to keep getting better. You got to do things right. You got to be someone that has a genuine love for the guy that you're playing next to, and then invest that time into learning and knowing who they are so that you can build that bond that ultimately goes on the field and then creates a little bit of an X factor to make you better when you need it the most.
You look at this defense, because a lot of the credit or a lot of the highlights and stuff go to the offensive side of the ball. This defense got better and better every week, and then it culminated with that finale against University of Mary. Multiple turnovers forced that game. You had a pick six, you had a block punt for a touchdown. I mean, you kind of scored in all, you scored in all 3 phases. What can you say about this defense, especially the fact that just like the offense, this defense is very young and bringing a lot of players back next season as well?
Well, we were very deep defensively, played a lot of guys, and I think that helped make our special teams better. And as you mentioned, we had a special teams touchdown. We were top 4 in the country in blocked punts. I think we blocked 1 out of every 9 punts all season long. And so those defensive players spilled into great special teams. And I think when we talked about just earlier about the statistics, you look at it and maybe from the outside you can look and defensively, maybe you're like, oh, well, gave up a lot of yards or this or that. Well, you got to understand on the flip side, the way we play offensively, how fast we score, the tempo we play at. Our defense is playing significantly more reps than the other teams in our conference. And so when you look at, if you're just looking at yards, you're like, well, it's not really apples to apples because the plays are different. So our guys, they don't care. They just want to go out and win. They play their role. And there were games where the offense carried us. There were games where the defense definitely carried us. And then there's games where special teams became the winning edge. And I think that's a sign of a good team when all 3 phases can rely on each other and lift the load when it needs to be lifted.
So speaking about how the defense, got better and better each week, and just in general, how young this team is. Obviously, we've heard from you and we've heard from Jack, et cetera, about some of these senior leaders that you're losing because of graduation. But the core of this team is together. And so when we look forward to next season, who do you see stepping up to be leaders on this team as we go into next season in 2024?
Well, I think your Jack Strands have to continue to become more of a presence in the locker room, on the field, in tough times. I think Gage Florence is a guy that needs to take the next step in his leadership toolbox of, okay, how am I going to develop as another type of leader that's going to reach a different type of person on our football team? The Josiah Boehm that's been a 2-year captain. You're like, okay, well, how's he going to be able to take that to the next level and maybe train in the next captain that we don't have? We lose Hayden Carr, we lose Ryan Bieberdorf, and you're like, okay, well, who's going to be the next captain? And so how is he going to help show them the way? And so it's really like, how can we continue to keep growing from within? And I think each guy has a challenge. Each guy has an area that they can get better in that's ultimately going to help our team. And so as these guys are coming back, it's not just rinse, repeat, do the same thing. It's no, rinse, repeat, use what you have, but there's also a window of opportunity that we have to lift up because we did lose some leadership. So unless we grow or unless we build others up, there's going to be a void. And so we have to make sure we're constantly filling the void and strengthening it from within.
When we look at the off season of Dragon football, kind of first time kind of for me digging really into this off season. And so you talked to us kind of before we sat down about still going out on recruiting trips and things like that. We know that signing period is officially in February. So you've got a couple full solid months. You take at least a little bit of time off, maybe a day, or at least a 3-hour match in the afternoon for volleyball. But you take a little bit of time off, but you're really back out trying to recruit. So a couple questions. Are you still trying to recruit players and put out offers up until that recruiting signing day? And since there are 9 seniors leaving, is that all of the scholarships you have available, or how does that work as far as potentially giving a scholarship to an athlete?
Yeah, so scholarships get divided in all kind of realms throughout the team, and so there's, it's not 9 guys, 9 full scholarships. It's parts of scholarships, and so we make a lot of offers here at the end of our season. And so we've made offers, at the end of the summer. We make offers about 4 games in to the season. And then kind of this next point here within this week, there's more offers that go out just frankly because we have more time to sit down and watch some of the senior film. In the season, there's only so much time, so we have to try and prioritize by positions that are highest need for us, and positions that might have seniors, those type of things. And so that's kind of an ongoing process. Really, if you look at it in the past, we've had 80% of our guys have been committed to the class by December. And so we're getting to that point where we're not quite there, we're close, but offers will go out in December, mid-December, if we haven't gotten to the point where we're like, okay, well, here's the next spot, and they might be some in January. You're hoping that you get to the point where you're not making offers in January because you made your offers, guys have said yes, you filled up your spots, and you're ready to move on. In January, we kind of coincide recruiting where we start with the juniors for the next year. And so it's kind of a 13-month process. Officially signs in February. We start in January. And so we'll watch over 3,000 juniors in our recruiting footprint and trying to start to just narrow down the first phase of who should be guys, that make it through the list, and then junior days and summer camps and fall game visits and official visits and all the way back through the process. So we got a little bit of a lull here as we're trying to kind of finish off this year's class, so to say, or get 80% of the way. And then it's kind of deep breath in January, hit it hard, and the eyes get glazed over watching a lot of film.
The last thing about recruiting, I know James and I were obviously at the season finale against Mary, and there was a really good turnout for recruiting visits. I don't know if that's typical for colleges, but it looked like there was a really good number of potential recruits at least coming to check out and getting an on-campus visit. So, I mean, to me, I was excited to see the just sheer number of players showing up for it.
Well, I think our recruiting coordinator, Chris Needham's done a fabulous job of not just looking for this year's guys, but ahead of the game with juniors and being able to get a chance to see Dragon football up close at the beginning of the process. And then it really is, for us, it's about the whole football experience in our program is about relationships. And so recruiting is relationships. The sooner we can start in the relationship, understand who we are, what we're about, what they are, what they're about, finding that match and building that relationship, the better chance we have. And so we are excited that to be able to win at home 6-0, that always helps in your recruiting visits, and hopefully we can continue to do that and have a successful class here in February.
When you look at the overall encompass this 2023 campaign and you see a lot of the growth of these guys, you see a lot of the experiences being built up and a lot of those lifetime brotherhoods and friendships being built up, what would you say is the biggest thing that your team as a whole needs to work on this offseason to be able to repeat some things next season, but also improve upon those same things to have a even more successful season and have that step forward next year?
Well, I think one of the things that we're going to have to handle is expectations and pressure that comes with that. I think going into the season, we were picked, 11 out of 13 maybe in our conference, something like that. There wasn't a lot of high expectations outside of our walls in this program or in this building. And so I think doing what we did this year, I think there certainly are going to be expectations that we have of ourselves and probably some expectations that come from the outside. And so with expectations, there's going to be pressure. And so how do we handle that pressure? How do we handle those expectations? Do we get caught up in only looking at the end result, only looking at those things, or are we still bought into the process, play with joy, play free, play in the moment, or, well, yeah, as long as it's going well, but not if the scoreboard's not showing. And so we're going to have to be able to find that delicate balance of playing under pressure, playing with expectations, but understanding what is it that really makes success and how can we be able to handle the mental side of the game.
And trying to piggyback off that a little bit, I thought that was something that this season that the growth this team showed was tremendous. Whether it was somebody coming up with a big play, everybody celebrated with them. It could have been an extra point. It could have been a blocked punt. It could have been a pick six like we saw in the finale. But there wasn't a lot of that ego, those type of things. Those things that get you in trouble with personal fouls, those things that just get you in trouble outside of the lines of football. Is that something that you look for? Is that something that's taught? Or kind of how has that family mantra been so ingrained into this program and really seems to be flourishing here now?
Well, we talk about it a lot. We try and reinforce all the positive pieces of it. When you're making a play, it's about finding the guys that are closest to you and celebrating with them, because not just closest in proximity, but closest, like those are your best friends and you're so excited to see them make a play that you want to celebrate with them. Like your opponent is a nameless, faceless person. What do you need to get in their face, and why do you want them to be the first person you look at? You want it to be the people that you've spent the most time with. And so we talk about it, we show it, we try and reinforce it. I think we just in general are trying to build that bond, that it's always about us. It's about the feeling we have between each other, not us and our opponents, but just between each other. We try and build it. We spend a lot of time in the off season doing small group things that try and tie into that. We try and have difficult conversations in small groups about tough things in life, about, hey, if things aren't going well, how do you want us to handle you? Like, hey, if you're in a red light, how do you get out of a red light? Some things are fun. They're, in those small group conversations, like, hey, if, easier questions that, get to know you questions. But if you're going to really have a genuine appreciation for the people next to you, you have to understand who they are, what makes them tick, what their background is. And so we do invest a lot of time into that. And I think it just shows out there that it's a genuine love and appreciation for the commitment and contribution each guy's making to the program.
Coach, if you could kind of look back on this season and kind of not so much your expectations for conduct on the field or anything, but for play, for statistics. If there were some people on this team that you could go back to the beginning of the season and say, he's got the talent, we got to wait and see if he puts it together, but who are some players that kind of surprised you as far as their actual on-field production?
Yeah, Madden Thorson, a guy that had to battle to get into the rotation, didn't know that he was going to be able to do that as quickly as he did. He got an opportunity and he ran with it. I think Carter Bierenkott's a guy that we felt like could do it, but we didn't see it consistently. And then, wow, it showed up, and you're like, wow, this guy's dominant and maybe the most scary guy within that offense that was out there. I think you look at Adam Kallenbach really showed up and was making plays, and you go, look how many plays he made this year, and he had a cast on half the year. If he has two hands, he might double or triple the amount of interceptions he has. Like, you knew it was within him, but did it show up? Tate Gustafson making the move from safety to linebacker, and you go, wow, this is an unbelievably high level of play for a guy that's been at linebacker for 3 months. By the end of the year, he was probably 3 weeks by the time we played the first game. And so, those are guys that I think really did a great job. We're going to need another set of guys that are waiting in the wings, that can make plays, that when they get their opportunity, they're gonna need to shine, and I think they're going to. And so it's just a matter of getting through spring ball, getting guys in the right positions, making some position changes if we need to, whether that's safety to linebacker or whatever it might be, and then they get the opportunity, get it done, and help our team get better.
In closing today, and it was a great season. We appreciated being able to be a part of the ride in a small facet and being able to watch this team grow. And I was going to be on the sideline regardless, so I'm glad that we were able to broadcast. I'll put it that way. What are you most excited for, though, as a coach, looking forward to this next season and the potential of more growth in this team?
Well, it's going to be a challenge in the sense of we had a taste of success, and so we certainly can't become complacent. So motivation and reality is going to have to be something that we're constantly looking at. I mentioned it before with pressure and expectations. Okay, the mental side of the game, how are we going to grow and develop that? And then when you look at it, how are we going to continue to build relationships that are strong? We need to get the most out of every guy in here. And I think we did a great job this year, but I think there's more that we can get out of them. So what are some things that we're maybe on the tip of the iceberg, not quite drilling down enough to get to? And so there's some off-season things that I think players have had some good ideas. We've taken some feedback that we got to figure out as coaches, come up with a plan, and then get the players to buy into the plan. And mostly the plan doesn't matter. It's the execution of the plan. And if the players are going to buy in and execute whatever it is, we're going to make some progress and get as much out of the next group of Dragons that we can.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I want to say thank you for your time, not just today, but, a couple of times a week we'd come in, run into your office, and you were more than gracious with your time. So we appreciate that. And of course, we appreciate you, the viewer, the listener, however you were tuning in to our broadcast all season long and supporting us and this team. It was an absolute blast, and we can't wait for that 2024 campaign. We have basketball right now to worry about, but I'm already chomping at the bit for that opener of 2024. And, of course, I'm James McCarty with Jace, Denman, Coach Steve Laqua here of the Dragons. And enjoy your safe and happy holiday season, and God bless.